All right, here comes part two of Return of the Bell Witch. So let's get to it. On the morning of December 19th, 1820, his wife was unable to wake him from an unnatural deep sleep. His son, John Jr., went to the medicine cupboard, but his prescription bottle was missing, and in place was another vial and a dark, smoky liquid. And as usual, Kate was among them. "I've got him this time," she cried gleefully. "He'll never get up from that bed again," said Kate. And she was right. He never did. When asked about the vial in the cupboard, she replied, "I put it there myself. I gave old John a big dose of it last night while he was asleep, and that fixed him." The family put some of the liquid on the straw and drew it through a cat's mouth, sending the animal into an immediate convulsion. John Bell died the next day. Even at his funeral, Kate disrupted the solemn ceremony with raucous, drunken singing during the burial service in the family graveyard. I would be like, hold it up across saying, "Be gone, malevolent being." Okay, leave us alone. Or something like that, but anyway. In 1821, the witch surprised everyone by announcing that she was leaving but return in 7 years. Her homecoming in February of 1828 was marked by the return of knockings, gnawings, and scratchings on the outside walls of the house and the pulling off of covers from the beds. This time, however, the Bell Witch stay was brief. After Mrs. Bell's death, the farm was divided, and it was not surprising that no one wanted to live in the old house, which was eventually torn down. But this was not to be the end of the Bell Witch. As she left, she swore she would return in 100 years. Recent events indicated her promise is being fulfilled. In a publication called The Tennessee Traveler, Don Wick writes of encounters people are having with the Bell Witch in the 20th century. In the cave near the banks of the Red River, they report various phenomena, such as the figure of a dark-haired woman floating through the cave passages, the sounds of chains dragging along the stone floor, footsteps and unearthly cries. W.M. Eden, who has owned this part of the Bell Farm for many years, has had his share of personal experiences with Kate or whatever it is inside the cave. On a winter's day a few years ago, there was new snow on the ground. I heard someone knocking at my front door, and I looked through the window. When I saw the outline of a figure I didn't recognize, I went to get my shotgun. By the time I returned, the form was walking toward a larger tree. It went in the yard, but it never came out of the other side. So I went out the back door and around to the tree, but I found no one. My shoes were making prints in the snow, in the fresh snow, but from the front door to the tree, the snow was as smooth and undisturbed as if it had just fallen, and there was no footprints at all. Carney Bell, one of the present-day descendants of John and Lucy Bell, has had his own odd experiences in recent years, which he attributes to Kate. Some things that have happened in the family are almost like a coincidence. For instance, when I'm watching television one night and the next door neighbor called to tell me there was a program on one of the channels about the Bell Witch, I turned it to the channel but couldn't, only get wavy lines. After trying 2 other sets in the house, we gave up, yet found that the neighbors on each side of us were viewing it. According to Eden, a group of soldiers from Fort Knox, Kentucky came to explore the dark, dank recesses of the cave, and one of the soldiers poked fun at the story of Kate. A few minutes later, he was lying on the floor of the cave. He shouted for help, saying he could feel someone sitting on his chest and squeezing the breath right out of him. I don't think he will forget his sensation in that cave when something grasped him and pinned him to the ground. Strange floating lights appeared in the fields of the farm owned by W.M. Eaton, and many have chased the elusive lights only to have them vanish and reappear a short distance away. In this area around Adams, Tennessee, the Bell Witch, which is not just a legend, she is a strong presence. My own visit to the cave was an interesting, if eerie, experience. As we came out into the welcome, fresh night, Mr. Eden stopped and looked back over his shoulder. There was an air of expectancy about the way he stood there looking back at the cave. as if he might see something emerge at any moment. That night, there were no sign of anything in the darkness behind us, but Eden told of the time I was in the cave with my German Shepherd dog, Fritz, when he heard a sound back in the innermost recesses of the cave, as if a heavy object was being dragged noisily along the stone floor. I sat down on a ledge to see what would happen, and Fritz sat quietly beside me. The sound grew closer and louder. I knew something was about to round the curve in the wall of the cavern just a few feet away. At that point, Fritz, who weighs at least 75 pounds, leaped into my lap. The noise grew louder, and whatever it was went right past us until the dog huddled against me, and I could feel the animal trembling. After waiting for 2 or 3 minutes, we both raced for the entrance. What is it? I think it was Kate. Eden believed that her spirit roams the Adams area day and night. I've known for years that cave is a strange place, but it was where Kate lives now. They say she was gone for 100 years, but I believe she's home for good. And then they said, down here at the bottom, it says right here, when the story was written, the cave could be toured by contacting Mr. W.M. Eaton of Adams, Tennessee. Now, that would be nice, but I do not want to poke fun at that witch because I don't want her pinning me down. But anyway, they were talking about a cave. They actually got a picture of what it looks like, the opening of the cave right here. I can't tell if that's actually the witch right there poking out of there or opening of the cave. But anyway, that's going to be it for this book for now. And don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.